I have the unfortunate duty of going first. My name is Greg. I am aromantic and asexual. I consider myself rather lucky because I kind of had my hands in all of the different pies. Not cake. What?
No, just terrible.
Okay. So I first found asexuality in 2009. I didn't actually identify as asexual at first. It took me a year until 2010, September. And then, from there the train sort of started rolling really fast because 3 months, as soon as I was able to, I joined the moderator team, the Adlon team with Avin. I was with them for a period of 8 months. I ended August 2010. So that was... Then February 2010, I actually created the Deaf Race vlogging group on YouTube. It was a group of around 7 people, though we've had about 10 people involved total. It's still sort of chugging along, hopefully. Maybe hasn't really posted anything for quite a while, but I'm hoping to reopen that soon. And then since May 2011, I've been blogging actually on Tumblr, and that's actually where I think most of my growth with the asexual community has come from, is Tumblr. And I've just been blogging continuously about my experiences, topics that are relevant to the ace community, and sort of just hoping to open up discourse and increase the discourse on asexuality through Tumblr. As I feel Tumblr is a bit more of a dynamic venue for asexuality because it doesn't have the admon team to sort of say, well, you can't say that. And we have assholes who come along and, treat us like shit, and then we can fight back against them, and by that sort of conflict, just increase discourse on asexuality, and that's, so I think Tumblr is rather worthwhile for that. That's me. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Johanna Villamil. I'm from Colombia. I'm the representative for the Hispanic America asexual community. This year, I found the visibility and education project in Spanish. Hispanic America is around 20 countries. Go Mexico through Argentina and also Spain. And I have some pictures, but I think that in the questions I'm going to show and talk more about it. And that's it for now.
We're mixed up somehow.
Yeah. So, my name is Corinna, but I'll go with Carmela for pronounceability's sake. I've been with the German Avon since January 2011. I found out about Avon a few years prior, and I was like, maybe it's me, maybe it's not. So when I eventually joined, I was really thinking visibility already, and I helped the formulating the creating of a new leaflet, because the one we had with was really bad. And since then we've been on a small pride with some kind of info table, and I've marched with the alternate Berlin Pride 2 weeks ago. We were like 3 people. Handing out leaflets again, and we're going to be with the Stuttgart Pride Summer Festival in 2 weeks' time. So, and I actually have the only active German blog on asexuality. It's impronounceable again.
You can try.
Yeah, it's der Torheit Herrenbock. It's like the foolishness hostel drawing for Nietzsche, who had a section about celibacy and abstinence, where he called it kind of foolishness, but yeah. Here.
Ciao, I'm from Italy, and I remember the most important thing I remember about asexuality and Italy is when I joined Even English, which was the same day I joined Even Italy. But I haven't been active on Even Italy for months actually because I could see the difference. Like no one knew about asexuality in Italy. Like the community, even online, was really, really small, and still is really, really small. Like there was probably less than 50 people active in the community, while we have like hundreds on Even English active every day, and we have 37,000 like registered on Even English. So like the biggest difference was really about how much asexuality is well known, because even talking to people, you know, when you come out, and that's really awkward for everyone, I guess, and they're just like, oh, they're not like in English, when you explain to someone who speaks English and has heard the word asexuality, they're like, oh, so the first thing is, so you don't have sex. But at least they get close to it. In Italian, it's kind of different, and they get close to, they look at you like maybe you don't have genitalia or something. Yeah. Because there's a like language problem too as well, because like in Italian we have very similar words for both things. Like asexual in Italian is asessuale, which is very close to asessuato, which means you have no genitalia. And so they're kind of confused at the moment, and we need to work on visibility, and I have to thank Leander as well, Mary, who talked earlier, because she's actually helping me translating and printing stuff for visibility. And we had meetups, and still a few meetups, but we're working on improving awareness in Italy because it's really important. I think I talked too much.
Shalom. My name is Ruben. I'm from Israel. Well, my first encounter with asexuality was in Hebrew. I first found the Israeli community or searching online people that don't have sex or something like that, and it was in Hebrew again. And I encountered the Israeli group, and then after a while I kind of moved to Avon in English because it is more active. Also, the Israeli community is pretty active. We have meetings and everything. And for the past 3 months, there is a big organization in Israel for youth LGBTs. So after 2 years of fighting them, we managed to have an internet forum in their site for youth asexuals in Hebrew. So since the moment it was open, I'm the moderator. So I'm moderating the discussion of youth asexuality in Hebrew. So anything, I'm free army if you want to know that. So I did that in my army service, and I will pass the microphone on.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Illy, and I come from the Bay Area, California, the U.S. Woohoo! There's a couple others from my locale in the room. Hello. I learned I was asexual in 2005, and I started to come out around a year later. Some of the main things I've done with the community are I'm the writer of the blog A Sexy Beast, which has been going on. Thank you. It has been going on since 2007, which in internet years is about 300 years. And it has like over 600 posts, so if you're ever bored, you can go read the archives. And I'm really interested, originally it started out being about pop culture and asexuality. There's not a lot of pop culture representations, although there's more than there were when I started. But it sort of ended up being about like gender and all kinds of sexuality and being queer and relationships and all sorts of things. But the other thing I've been involved a lot with is meetups in the Bay Area, and along with another person, I started regular meetups in the regularly occurring meetups in the Bay Area, which were heavily influenced by the London meetups. So while the London meetups I think have changed, ours are now sort of what London meetups used to be like, maybe. So it's kind of an interesting like interchange there. But Let's see, what else have I done? So I was the first person to organize the Asexuals marching in San Francisco Pride in 2009, and so we've done that every year since. I have not always been the one organizing it, but I was the person that started it out. And let's see, what else? American culture and asexuality. I feel like in the English-speaking world, there's definitely a sort of continuity in terms of how much asexuality is recognized, because there are so many more resources in English. I think that in terms of living in the Bay Area, it's a very historically gay-friendly area, so I feel that being there, it might be a little bit different than other places, but I find that there's occasional people who do know what asexuality is. However, there's, of course, as usual, many more who have never heard of it before. So I look forward to answering any questions that you may have about asexual in the US.
We have, before the question and answers, Joanna has some stuff on the, well, she can explain it to you herself, but stuff to do with Colombians and Spanish-speaking asexual community. But I'm not going to really make a talk about it. It just some few things that I would like just to point it out, and I think that I would like to talk about the other countries, and it's just that.
There's an icon at Kosovo that makes it full screen. It's too along from that one. Too back from that one. This one here. Yeah.
Okay. This is one of the things that I would like to talk about it, and
yeah,
You see there is a stop button over there.
Yeah, in the top right corner you can press pause, or you can go out that and just do full screen.
okay. Thanks. Is about the translation thing. Something that I realized almost like 2 years ago was the information that we have in our website about asexuality. It was some translations of the English website, and that really was like a kind of a huge problem. For example, it's just an example. It's about the sex-positive movement into the asexuality community. When I tried to find about sex-positive movement in Spanish, they say, "Do you mean movimiento sexy position?" No, it's really not what you want to mean, really. And the thing that I realized is that just basically the sex-positive movement doesn't exist in Spanish. It's something that it's a cultural process that just don't exist in Latin America or in Spain. So we are trying to talk about asexuality and try that the people find themselves with tools that they just don't understand. The other thing about Latin America, it's about the sexuality of Latin people. And I'm talking about, for example, the Latin lover thing. And I don't know if you know what is a Latin lover. So I have some definitions here that really explain that. I love this, that is a politically correct term for a fucking Mexican. A hot ass guy. Okay. They were sensual and manly. The Georgios, warm golden skin, dark bedroom eyes, and full lips. Most are hot, but those Cuban men are so sexy with a rich ethnic accent. It's something about the Spanish accent that really the people are like crazy in it. And I don't know if you know these terms like macho or mamacita. I know that maybe you know what does that mean. And it's something about the Latin American people that you are like for being Latin. This is other example. And this is like just a kind of an invitation. This is a new tool that we put in our website the last month, and is the map. If you go to Asexuality organization SP, you go to the map. Okay, there was idea of Julio, who is represented the Brazilian community, and he did a map. So they are using the map, and it's great because you can find like people next to you, and you can also so the blue ones are just people that be in the community. The red ones, people that represent the community or local representative of asexuality. And the yellow ones are meetings. So you can hang out and be really a great tool. So if you want to be in the map, you just go to there and you can send us your information, and we like to move you there. And this is a picture. I went last weekend to the Pride in Bogota, and it was the first time that I think that someone of the asexual community in Latin America are in a Pride. This is me. And I had and she also say a sexy Latin lover. It was a group of friends. They are a group of feminists, and they have this group that it's called the Angry Foxy Ladies. I have this placard that says asexual sexy lady. No, a sexy foxy lady. And yes, it was an awesome experience, and it was really high. Okay, and that's it.
So, this is the question and answer portion in which you'd like to ask anything you want to ask. Does anybody have any questions? Yep.
Okay, so I think Joanna and to some extent Leia have already touched on this. So this is mostly to the non-native English speakers, but I'm sure Greg and Illy probably have interesting comments as well. And that's, I mean, you both speak English as a second or maybe third language. So I was wondering if you think differences in language, like English and your own language, have actually contributed to the way that asexuality operates, or the asexual visibility movement operates in your part of the world.
As I said, I met asexuality first in Hebrew and then I switched to Greek, although I speak both languages since I was a young child. In Israel, we saw many people come and find their sexuality first in English and then join the movement in Israel in Hebrew. And sometimes we found that while they're translating everything they know into Hebrew, we have many mistakes or misunderstandings. There is a lot of information around about asexuality, especially in English. And when your English is not that perfect, you get misunderstanding that might be severe and might damage more than help. So I think something that they asked me to tell in the community in Israel is whenever we're trying to explain or to welcome newbies, even in English, to try to do as simple as possible, or kissing for engineers here. You know the term. So I think that is something that may influence us a lot. So other non-English?
Yeah, I'm non-English, but I do speak a Germanic language like English, and so the translations are pretty easy, and most just you have to Germanize it and we're done.
Two things, and with the English thing, it's sometimes like with the media requests on these things, like they want an article for a newspaper in Latin America or something, and they go, for example, to AVN, and so the article, like in Latin America, says like, oh, look, this movement from America that it's going on over there, and it's like, what? Like, no, that's happened here as well. And the other thing is that when I'm talking about like the cultural process, is that I think that it's really different how can you understand what asexuality is depending on the place that you are, because everybody have like different stories and cultural stories, and it's really hard to try to understand what asexuality is through a process that is not your own process. And I think that is something that we are like starting to work in Latin America, and is like being conscious of how asexuality is being yes, like in each country.
Well, about Italy and Italian language and translation, there's lots of issues, obviously, because even though in English has some quite few characteristics, like adding prefixes or suffixes like a, demi, semi, to pretty much any word, because English is pretty flexible as a language, so to make you understand, like you can add something to some word, even if it doesn't exist, the other person understands what you mean, you know? We can do that in Italian. We have pretty strict grammar, as everyone who spoke Italian a little knows, or who just approached Italian. So the funny thing is, for example, just to like approach the umbrella issue as well, is about demisexuals. Because, for example, we don't use the word demi. Like, demi doesn't exist in Italian. So there were, like, I'm working on the Italian forum as well, on Even Italy, and there were a lot of issues about the translation of demisexual, because they were translating it as semisexual, which is something different. I'm not really sure, but it should be more related to libido than to sexual attraction. And so there were issues, because if you translate demisexual as semisexual, how do you translate semisexual then? And so it was kind of, you know, convulsing and everything. And yeah, just to make one example. Other examples are even just the word asexuality doesn't exist. I mean, it's not like it exists in Italian, so we're like making it known now. And it's something like, what is it? Like, it's not like, yeah, I kind of have an idea. And I'm like, what is it? Like, what does it mean? Yesterday was a marching in WorldPride, and a few Italian people stopped us, and I talked to them, and they were like, I never heard of it in Italy. So can you explain to me, because my English is not well.
In fact, I remember that we are not working, but we are trying to translate.
Yeah, exactly. Just for the placard.
Yes, for the placard, we are trying to translate. We are not broken. And it was not a way to say that. It was like, no, you remember?
I was the person trying to coordinate all the language ones, even though I only speak English. And as we're not broken and not alone. Originally it was going to be Spanish, and now it's Italian, because they're both Romance languages. And the trouble we had doing that, it was just...
It was no way.
You didn't try that in Hebrew.
You cannot say that.
You can say that.
cannot
didn't
say
even try
that.
to do it in Hebrew. You don't want to try.
Yeah,
That's why.
yeah. A lot of the times, a lot of the translations are not literal. I mean, the German one is asexual and das is good, so which is like asexual and that's good. And I think there's a couple others like that.
The Italian
so-
one says we're normal and you're not alone, because we can say you're not
No,
broken.
Yeah.
It's those things that you cannot say.
Yeah.
It's like impossible to
Yeah,
translate.
the Polish ones we're not deficient or something. Defective. We're not defective.
Even though the word broken, actually, when I read it in English, the word broken is exactly what you feel. You know, I think many people in here can understand like what you feel when you read Ava and you're like, wow, like finally, like this is me. And you have felt broken for a long time, and not having a word in your own language that lets you express what you're feeling is really hard and complicated, and can make you really feel confused about it. So when you read in English, if you like to speak English, like you're like, thank you, David, because you feel it. So it just the next question.
Our person who should have a chair on the stage would like a question.
I'm interested because obviously in lots of other countries there isn't the same level of acceptance, general acceptance of LGBT, gay, bi, all that sort of thing. I'm wondering if, especially in religious countries, whether asexuality is seen as more acceptable or less acceptable. I think culturally that's something that's going to vary by country. I'm really interested to hear what your perspectives are on that.
You're the first.
Yeah, I mean, I can take this because America is one of the most religious countries in the industrialized world. I mean, obviously that's a problematic term, so I'll go like that. But I personally am not from a religious family, but from American asexuals that are. I have heard that although some people think asexuality makes you pure or holy, as we've talked about, it's normally seen as a very negative thing because marriage and children are so highly, not prized, but the expectation in religious communities is that you will get married and have children. That's something that many asexuals do not want or cannot have. So I think that because I didn't come from any sort of religious tradition, my future in the relationship sense was seen as much more open, and I think that made it easier for me to like tell my family I was asexual.
Next. Well, as most of you know, as many of you might know, Israel is the Jewish country. So I'm Jewish. I'm really Jewish. I was brought up more religious than I am now. I became secular when I grew up. And I must say, well, acceptance for LGBTQA in Israel, it depends where you live and which sort of community you are. The general rule, which have many acceptances, where you're going to a more conservative or orthodox or more religious communities, you're getting less and less accepted. And more than that, I think especially with the asexuals, asexuality is easier to digest than, let's say, being gay or trans or something like that, because it's less of a surprise. But on the other hand, as might of you that know the Jewish world, the pressure to settle down and have a family is very high in the Jewish world. So my parents are iffy about me bringing them grandchildren and things like that. So, but it's generally more accepted in Israel, yes.
Oh, lucky. Let's go to Italy. I live in Rome, just to say something, where the Vatican City is, like I live pretty close to it. My parents are not really religious, but part of my family is, so I was brought up like half and half. So like really free to like make my mind about it, which is really awesome. My parents are the best. And so thinking about asexuality and religion has to be taken into the context of Italy and Catholicism, because it's not just Christian, it's really Catholic, and you don't really never hear about other Christian churches that much either, even though there are. You don't really hear about it because it's just Catholic, and Catholicism is taught in school. So just to make a bigger like environmental panorama, like you have to think that gay couples can't adopt, the single parents cannot adopt, there's no civil marriage, there's nothing, there's no rights for any other the heterosexual couples. So we're pretty behind about that. And so asexuality will be pretty interesting because I'm really curious to see what's going to come out of it. Because I don't really have an idea of how much is going to be accepted. I mean, thinking about Catholicism, there's probably going to be two outcomes. There's going to be the one, oh, you'd be really great as a nun. So all priests are asexual, and they're like, then they would say just like, oh no, not all priests are asexual because of news, you know. So yeah, that could be an interesting outcome, as just as there could be the, oh, but you know, you have to get married and have children, and there's the thing that marriage can be cancelled if you don't consume, because it's part of marriage, like the right of a husband. And the thing is, I don't want to get married, so I think my parents kind of understood that, but it's okay. And yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. I mean, asexuality, as I know, is so unknown in Italy, so I don't really have an answer about it. In press, I think we're going to talk about press later, so that's going to be pretty fun. And have fun about religious.
Thank you. Okay, Germany is a pretty secular country. So what we actually get is more like, yeah, what you don't want any is like, that can't be true, you've got to be joking. Gay acceptance is pretty good. There's still low level resentment. They cannot adopt, and there's actually no, it's a civil partnership is possible, but no marriage. And what we get pretty regularly is that we assume to be a religious group as asexuals. Like, the funniest thing actually was in the Berlin Pride when some gay guy told us to, yeah, there's the next mosque, take your flyers there. It was like, what is that? But I mean, did you think there are too many Muslims in Germany or what? I don't know.
Well, like South America is very like religious, and it's Catholic as well, like Caca, and so it's kind of like the same experience. And but they are like very excited about you, and you say like you don't have sex. They are like yes, because like it's like the celibacy thing. But then you say like okay, but don't family, don't kids, like but I think, well, yeah, like the thing of the family is really, really serious thing. And it's very seriously because, for example, if you're right, like you, for can be really a woman, you have to get pregnant and have a family. And for the men, it's the same thing. And no, not pregnant.
Usually anyway, so
Yes, that happened. Yes, so yes, it's that.
Okay, so there's some bogus statistic that says Canada is 85% Christian. It doesn't really take into account how secular Canada is, and I suppose it would surprise me to know how ubiquitous it is for acceptance of LGBT, and as I've experienced for asexuality. So maybe it could just be the area that I live in, which is Alberta, which is actually most conservative province. There it is. But I mean, so far acceptance for everything has been ubiquitous, and religion is kind of in all social interactions, it's kind of on the back burner. I don't know if that's a good thing, if that just kind of hides a lot of issues there are, or if they actually do get worked out and it's just not a problem. But as I've experienced, like for where I work, 6 out of 10 managers are LGBT. Everyone is accepting. And so, yes, I don't really have anything interesting to say because, it's just good. It's good. Religious or otherwise.
I forgot to say something about religion. It's like, I don't know if you know the saint San Sebastian. That is the saint that he's very popular in Brazil. And if you know the image, he's a very sexual guy. He's very sensual and he's bloody. And in Brazil, this thing of the be very sensual is really, really important. And I don't know, like, don't have sex is almost like a sin. And the Brazilian people really have like a big, big problem with this thing. Yes, and I think that is something in religion as well.
Any more questions? I know, it's fun like that.
So this is the question for people from non-English speaking countries. How are you right now? I know that you touched on this briefly, Camilla. I'm sorry, Camilla, earlier. How are you getting assistance from people in even English, where there's a lot more organization right now? How are you currently getting assistance, if at all? And what are opportunities for you to get assistance that aren't happening yet?
As I said before, many people come to these very Hebrew forms after being enabled. So, in English is, although it's not an official language, people know basic level of English in Israel. The most thing that is important to me to ask from the English community is to keep it simple, This is what KISS means to all the engineers. It's really that, there is too much information around, and too much information in broken English makes mistakes, problems, damages, things like that. So I think it's a general rule that would be good to English speakers as well. Whenever we find or meet a new guy or someone that is interested, to keep it in the lowest level, simplest level of both the language and both what you passed on as information when you pass it on to a different guy or girl, whatever. So this is my thing as an Israeli Hebrew speaker.
Well, as the Italian online community is so hosted on the Even English server, and I have to say that since I've joined Even English, I've started working on relationships with between England and Italy about Even Online. And again, I have to thank Mary because she was there since basically the first day when I wanted to start translating pamphlets and leaflets for universities and disabilities, because we have known really good in Italian. There were a lot of misunderstandings with language and a lot of mistakes about celibacy and the like. So Mary helped me a lot, and we now have a few leaflets and a few posters, and also I have to say that now the relationships seem to be improving between Italian and English, and we've been helped a lot, especially recently, as Debbie knows, because we have been through a lot of issues, especially on tech side. And so, yeah, I have to say that now that I'm in both teams, because I'm both in the moderation team in English and the moderation team in Italian, there are more relationships, and this is, I think, a good thing, because now I have the opportunity to help the Italian community grow better and faster, hopefully. So it's mostly thanks to English.
Yeah, in the German community, there's about 8,000 registered members in the German forum, and there's about 1,000 active each year, and we get about 2 or 3 new members each week. Yeah, what I can say is to keep up the work, keep up the visibility work and appearances in films and on TV, on radio, because eventually someone in Germany spots that there's something going on in the UK or in the US, and starts to Google and finds the German forum, and we get requests for interviews and stuff. So, and yeah, translating of the material is usually not so not so difficult because most Germans do speak some English.
I think that what is going on right now in the Spanish community is that it feels like it was a community like looking outside, like, okay, what is they're talking about, if we have to translate this or not, or whatever. But now we are like looking, it's like inside. And it's like thinking our own sexuality and all these things, so we are like building like again like all the definitions and these things because it was really confusing and yes, like many things that are there are not really useful for the people. And about like the bad, when I don't know, I've been working with Michael with the media requests and these things. Well, I also, like, I used to live in California, so it was like almost 2 years, and I think that it was really like great experience, like working and meet people over there. And other thing that was really curious, it was about the episode of the Doctor House. Yes, I don't know that happened, and the people of Argentina and Chile and this thing really was angry and upset, and all my mail was like, what is going on there? We have to do something, and everybody was very angry. Yes, I remember that I sent you an email like, what is going on?
Any other questions? Hey, someone from the back that I went across the stage for. Awesome.
Have you thought about organizing regional events with like neighboring countries and coordinating this? So maybe it's more for Europe and Latin America because Israel may be more difficult.
I wish we could do that. I wish we could do a regional meeting.
I tried. Hey, who wants this first?
Okay, this is actually pretty difficult. Yeah, I mean, okay, Africa is from the Netherlands, but the funny thing is we would actually have to speak English, all of us, because, yeah, there's so many languages. There's been, yeah, some international meets, it's like with German-speaking Switzerland and the South Germans, or Austrians and Germans, but there's not really much communication going on between, say, the Polish forum and the German forum, or the French forum and the German forum. I think I know one person who's actually both member in the French and the German forum because he doesn't speak English, but it's French.
Well, you meant like going to other countries to meet, like to do bigger meetups, something like that? Well, the thing about Italians is, I think it's pretty famous that they're really lazy. So like I can't make we don't make like really many meetups because they're really like, well, we work a lot, like we work many hours a day actually. I comparing like to the other friends I have outside of Italy. And really organizing meetups in a city is already complicated inside the country. Like we've done one meetup since I joined, which was like in December. And so in 7 months we've done one meetup in Rome and there were like 7 people. So, and I posted about WorldPride and the conference like months ago because London is very easy for us to reach because it's not expensive at all. There are Italian people here. And it's not really expensive at all, but we're really lazy, so unless it's like outside of our house, it's really hard for us to think about, oh yeah, I'm going to go there.
Again, as I said, it's a bit unfortunate that our neighbors don't like us. That's a bit of a problem. But Israeli community would really like more coordination with European communities. Or I know that guy I've been to San Francisco with Dave, the guy is the major spokesperson for the Israeli community. We have quite an active community in Israel. We have meetups in Israel in Tel Aviv, something like once in 2 months. We are marching in the Pride Parade in Tel Aviv. If you see the purple shirts in Tel Aviv, it's us. No one else is allowed to wear purple. That's an easy way. So if you're ever in Tel Aviv, give us a call. We might do a meeting just especially for you. We do that sometime, really. So, but we wish we would have more communication with our neighbors and then with Europe and maybe even further away.
I mean, I think the closest thing that we've come to a regional meetup is at San Francisco Pride, because people come from Southern California, the Northwest, people come from the Midwest, the East Coast, even other countries here and there. But in terms of other regional things for us, it's funny because everybody I talk to seems to think that people in their country are not very motivated to attend meetups for the most part. I think it's difficult to get people out no matter what country it is. Yeah, I think it would be good to do more regional things in California as well. I mean, we are a very large state, but that should mean there's more asexuals there. So.
No, someone else wants to answer this question.
Someone else does?
Yeah, we've got 2 countries there.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
You said something already.
If you don't want, you don't have to. So.
Well, the thing about Latin America is that we are really like spread out over all the countries. And it's really hard to, just like in one country, travel city to other city. It's really hard. But we are doing something that it's really fun, and is that when someone are going to travel, I don't know, for example, me that came Bogota to London, so I could stop Venezuela for a few hours and Madrid for a few hours. So in Venezuela I get out and I have a meeting, and in Madrid I get out. And that's happened, yes, like with a few people there. Like some people go and hang out in Bogota for 5 hours, and I just came from Mexico. Yes, I meet someone. That works.
Well, unfortunately, Canada being so large and airfare being so bloody expensive, like you guys in Europe have no idea. It's really hard unless it's within driving distance to get people out. Even across provinces, it's hard to get people out. So regional meetups like that, cross-border, it's pretty difficult without asking quite a lot of people. Yeah, that's it.
Out of curiosity, is there anyone else here from a different country who wants to say something?
Say something.
We'll make them off that stage, won't we?
Yes, hi, I'm from Holland. I'll stand up. Hello everyone. I'm from Holland, I'm just here on my own, but I think I can say about our country, it's problematic enough to find people from Holland to meet up. Usually we start out by a forum, and then it's a thread with like maybe hundreds of posts. And then we finally have a plan, and then it's like dozens of people that say, I will come, and people that actually come is maybe 7, 6, 8. So we try with Germany, yeah, it's just going to be worse, I think. I don't know, there's this thing that people don't dare to come for the first time or something. It's really a problem, for us at least. Because there's always the same people coming, and others saying, I want to, but they don't. And it's not growing or anything, not much happening there. No.
Also, technically, as England and Wales are a different country, I happen to know that the Bristol meetups and the Cardiff meetups tend to sort of alternate between the two. Does that count? Any other questions? Okay. I saw your hand up earlier before, so I'll go with you first.
I was going to ask another question earlier, and then you brought up the thing of meetups. And just to quickly say, a couple of years ago, I organised the Euro Meet in Paris when I was living in France. And it kind of, it started off just being a thing where I was talking to some British Avionites and saying, oh, let's just have like a trip in Paris because I'll be living there, I can organise something. But I was living in the south of France at the time. But But I decided to post on other forums just to see if there was any interest. And to my surprise, there was a lot of interest. The majority of people who came, there were 40 people altogether over the weekend that came. I think about 30 of them were French, especially towards the last minute. More and more French people were saying, I'm coming. And maybe only about 10 people were not from France, but there were people from different countries who came all that way. I think there is that interest there, and I think that maybe we could try more to have these. I think in Europe we are quite lucky because we do live quite close to one another. Obviously it's hard for you guys, but I think we should make the most of that and maybe try to have these kind of European meets a bit more often. The one problem with that meet was there was a language barrier. Although most, like a lot of the French people could speak English, there was that kind of French-English divide. So we would have to think about that and how we can include everybody. Perhaps say sorry, but we might have to have like one language we're going to stay in. It is difficult. Language barriers make it difficult, but yeah, I just wanted to say that I think there is a possibility to have more of these cross-country kind of meets. Yeah.
I'm not sure how long I can continue from. I'm waiting for Michael to tell me to stop it and quit. There was a woman down this side who had her hand up earlier, I think. So I can pass that down.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the reactions of the LGBT community in your country to approach people with LGBT and sexuality.
I can do it without a microphone, I think. Well, although there is an LGBT community in Israel, it's mostly gay men, which is good, but causes some problems because, again, many times when you think about the LGBT community, you think about gay men. And we have some connections, but there is a big debate inside the AIDS community in Israel. Should we take a part in the LGBT community? Should we, like I do, being host on the website, should we work with the Tel Aviv Pride Parade? Should we do those things? Because we feel both connected and disconnected from them. Same thing with accreditation between us. Some LGBTs accept asexuality as a different orientation, and some just saying, well, it's nice, but you are not a part of LGBTs. So there's a big debate about it going on in Hebrew and Israel. So if you could read Hebrew, I invite you to join and read with us.
I mean, there's actually a similar situation in America in which the LGBT community, I feel like it just calls itself LGBT as a, I don't know, political thing. It's not like lesbian, gay, bisexual, and trans people are all working together on the same projects or political projects, because they're not. And I think in terms of acceptance, it's very individual. There are a couple of organizations that are accepting of asexuality, and those tend to be the college or university student groups. And there are maybe a couple more that I'm not as aware of, but it tends to be, like I said, very individual. I've learned that if someone is queer, that's no real guarantee that they're going to be more accepting of asexuality. So it really has to be taken kind of on a person-to-person basis in terms of whether they're going to be informed, accepting, open to the information, or any of that.
Well, about Italy, I have to say that I still have little to no experience with LGBT, because actually the only thing I did was contacting one group I have in my neighborhood, and there's a little club that just opened, which is a kind of miracle in Italy, to have a space where LGBT can like group together in the public. And yeah, I contacted some of the guys there, and I asked them if they were okay like with having a discussion about asexuality, and they said that we can arrange something. So far they're pretty open. I don't know how we're gonna like discuss it, but we'll see. Let you know.
Yeah, in Germany it seems to depend too. Reactions we had at Berlin and the WorldPride, they were pretty good. And too, when we stated interest in the Stuttgart Pride, they were like, okay, yeah, sure. But I think someone, actually a lesbian person brought this up with the German Association for Lesbians and Gays, and they were like, "Meh." Actually, I wasn't there, so I can't really tell. So yeah, I think we are going to be having interesting reactions once we get a bit more visible.
Personally, like I'm not trying to get like asexuality into the LGBT community, but we have like I have a great relationship with them, and I've been like giving talks and all these kind of things there. I'm more involved about in groups of sexual diversity, and it's been like a great experience because like they want to be very inclusive group and have like someone is sexual is like they feel very wealthy group, like, oh, we have also someone is sexual, and that is great.
Any involvement, I think, with the LGBT communities with asexuality has been on a small scale, something that's done individually with someone's university clubs or other sort of organizations like that, and that it's really hard to see what kind of penetration we're getting like that, and it's really hard to see if there's been any pushback on it. Certainly there hasn't been anything large scale, and if there was, I think it would be coming out of Western Canada, BC. I think that's where we have the largest conglomeration of ACEs, and that would be where the push would have to come from. But thus far, I mean, we don't really have that level of activity yet, so that's unfortunate.
I've just got my own questions, so I'm going to shove myself in here. We know that Travel Project in the USA recently had announced they're going to do some training material on asexuals. So I'm wondering what the campaign for that was like in America, and if there's anything similar or similar resources in the other countries. Nope.
About the sexuality.
The Trevor Project's kind of like this helpline for LGBT and questioning you to kind of call if they're needing support, like emotional support.
No.
I'm not aware of one. Could be not. I don't know.
I actually do know that we have in Italy helplines and support, because I've been working on helplines and support resources for several countries for AMEN. And yeah, actually the little project in my neighborhood also is a helpline. Like there's a little office and they answer phone and everything, and they're kind of supportive.
As I told in my beginning, I'm a moderator in an Israeli youth ACE forum, so yes, we do have that kind of support. And the other forums or groups that they have for youth is mostly not is LGBT and asking, we call it in Hebrew. When they have someone that is thinking or they think might be interested to contact the asexual community, they usually all PMing me or sending me an SMS. So last night, 4 a.m. British time, I got an SMS, read your private messages in the Israeli forum. There is 2 guys that are anxious to speak with you. So I had to wake up and write them a response in Hebrew. So it was kind of fun, but kind of, I'm tired now.
So with the Trevor Project in the U.S., I'm not going to claim that I know anything about the process of that because I wasn't involved at all. I'm pretty sure it was Sarah Beth Brooks that spearheaded that project. Is that right, DJ? So yeah, if you want to know more, you should definitely get in touch with her. I'm sure she'd be glad to tell you and maybe give you advice on doing something similar in other places. She's, I think, Kitchen Witch on the forums, if that's familiar to anyone. So yeah. I don't want to be like, get in touch with her, and then everyone's like, and then she's like, where did I get all these emails? But that probably won't happen, so, yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll just have one more quick question, maybe because another question.
So, who wants to be the final question? Make it a good one. Okay.
I'd just like to float the idea of CAL,
which is conference-approved literature. What global movements now tend to do, that I've come across and I'm involved in, is to get something like this approved by a conference such as this one. And once that's approved, in any country, in any language, it can be directly translated as the text for the particular movement. And then it's actually much easier. So I just put that as an idea for the future. Thanks.